Good day to everyone. Welcome to APAC Database Days 2022 sessions. My name is Ashwini. Joining with me is Jayaprakash Subramaniam. We are from Product Management Team Oracle. In this session, we will see how we can quickly deploy Oracle Enterprise Manager 13C on Oracle Cloud Marketplace. So today's agenda will be covering overview of Oracle Cloud Marketplace, also about the Enterprise Manager app which is present in the marketplace, or also the types of deployment available, and finally a quick demo of the multi-node deployment of the Enterprise Manager. So the Oracle Cloud Marketplace is an online store which is like a one-stop shop which is selling hundreds of business apps and professional services that complement our Oracle Cloud implementation. All the apps and services on the marketplace are offered by approved, registered, and expert partners and developers. Plus, Oracle has reviewed and approved each of the products present. So it offers a large collection of trusted and innovative apps in many business categories, including marketing, sales, customer service, and talent management, and so on. It also offers an assortment of services such as consulting, implementation, integration, and training to help you transition to the cloud and improve the successful operation of your company. It achieves through a click to deploy solution, wherein it has a rich library of click to deploy Terraform stacks that provides fully automated and end-to-end solution for deploying any third-party software on Oracle Cloud Architecture. It also helps it in achieving using the deep integration with the Oracle applications, wherein a one-stop shop to quickly deploy any Oracle application, which includes Oracle e-Business Suite, Siebel, PeopleSoft, and Oracle WebLogic. It is also integrated with Oracle Identity and Access Management, so you can define very granular user permissions for creating and managing users who can view, list, and launch the Oracle Cloud Marketplace solution. So we have Oracle Enterprise Manager 13C available on this Oracle Cloud Marketplace. So Oracle Enterprise Manager 13.5 is the version available in the Oracle Cloud Marketplace in all the regions. The supported deployment types include a single node setup and the multi-node setup. This version of Oracle Enterprise Manager on OCI can be deployed using multi-node configuration and single node configuration, so which helps specific infrastructure needs. Like the features include ability to create and define our own OCI resources. It is also having credentials for enterprise manager and databases, and also can be just configured at the spin up time. The OMR is on the latest version of 19C pluggable databases. Also, it is TDE enabled, that is transparent data encryption enabled, ensuring it is safe on the cloud. And also it is scalable, meaning the OMS nodes and the Bastion can be scaled to fit our needs by rerunning the stack and selecting a new shape for both. So this applies for both the single and multi-node deployments as well. So Enterprise Manager 13.5 on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure uses the latest OCI Linux image, which is Linux 8. It also makes use of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Resource Manager, which is a component that allows you to orchestrate the resources which are needed to deploy the Enterprise Manager Cloud Control. Also, it is production ready, where we can install agents for the production system and start monitoring them. So the latest version of the stack offers the following features. It has Oracle Enterprise Manager 13.5 with release update 3. It has default access to WebLogic console as well, which is of WebLogic version 12.2.1.4 and with the latest CPU, which is October 2021. Then we have Oracle Database 19C release update 12 as the repository. It also has operating system as Oracle Linux 8.4. It also supports Oracle Data Guard. It also has the latest Java development kit, that is JDK 8 with the latest update 311, and it has the latest Enterprise Manager Diagnostics Kit update as well. So the supported deployment types of Enterprise Manager, as discussed before, are the single node deployment and the multi-node deployment. So in the single node deployment, it supports simple installation, which means it is having a single OMS and single node repository on the same system, on the same VM. It also supports multi-node deployment, where it supports three flavors: a small, medium, and large. So it is, as we said, it is also driven by the Oracle OCI resource manager stack. So this helps in and deploying the enterprise manager and its infrastructure in different shapes without worrying of the prerequisite steps. And it also supports spinning up of single node and multi-node configuration with wherein we can view the progress of the deployment until it is completed. So these are some of the recommended configurations for OMS and the supported configuration for them. This is also available for the repository DB. For example, for a simple install, which is a single node installation, these are all the shapes supported with respect to OMS. VM standard 2.2 and VM Denzel and VM standard E2. So these are all the versions supported, and this is the recommended version for the OMS. And since it is single node, it is having the same compute resources for OMS and RAC DB. When it comes to, for example, the multi-node installation with medium flavor, these are all the compute sources which are supported, and this is the recommended compute shape for the OMS. Whereas since it is a multi-node, it has a separate instance for OMS and separate instance for the repository. So the supported shapes for RAC DB would be these three, and the recommended is VM standard 2.8. So these are some of the recommendations and the supported shapes for the OMS and RAC DB. So when it comes to single node deployment, we have two configurations wherein Enterprise Manager is deployed as a private subnet, or Enterprise Manager is deployed in a public subnet. So when it comes to private subnet, what happens is the OMS and the repository and all the agents are deployed in a private subnet, and a bastion host is required for deploying these resources in private subnet. And when it comes to the deployment in public subnet, the OMS, the repository, and all the agents are deployed in public subnet, and we do not require any bastion host for deploying the resources. So the single node deployment is also called as simple installation, because it is the repository used is 19.12, and it is co-located with the OMS. and the deployment is done through the ORM stack, and it takes overall 15 minutes to complete the deployment. So in this architecture, we see a single node deployment where we have a private subnet configuration, wherein we have all the repository, OMS, and agent in the private subnet. And we have Bastion host, which is the public subnet, which connects to these resources for all the deployment. In that way, it is uh, this helps in the communication between the Bastion host, between the console and the private subnet or DB and the OMS. So when it comes to multi-node deployment of enterprise manager in the marketplace, it is active architecture, wherein there are different these are the configurations and provisions available. We have Oracle RAC database, which with the enterprise edition available. Also, it is of PDB 19.12 version, which is used as a repository database. And also there is encryption enabled for the data security. And it has a primary OMS and one additional OMS. And also it has load balancer. And it uses NFS storage volume for the software library, and also Oracle Data Guard can also be enabled. So multi-node deployment supports two configuration. One is where enterprise manager and the repository database is always in the private subnet, and in the first type the load balancer will be in public subnet, and in the second type the load balancer will be in the private subnet. These are the two configurations supported when it comes to multi-node deployment. So this takes close to 3 hours to complete the deployment once it is submitted through the Oracle Cloud Marketplace. So these are the recommended actions or steps for multi-node deployments, wherein we can choose from the different flavors available, like small, medium, or large deployments, or we can use any new or existing VCN. And the load balancer should always be on a different availability domain, which helps in high availability. The OMS server should be in different availability domains for each of the OMS nodes. And the repository database we have option to have nodes on different fault domains, but it should be on the same availability domain. And the Bastion host is required, and it is always deployed, since both the OMS, meaning the enterprise managed application, and the database are deployed in a private subnet. So this is a typical architecture for a multi-node enterprise manager on marketplace with the load balancer in private subnet. So if you see here, the OMS and the block volume is present in one availability domain 1, and the second OMS attached with the block volume is present in the availability domain 2, and it is having the shared NFS system for the software library. So it also has a data guard for the RAC database system present in a different availability domain. So all these are present in one private subnet. Also, we have Bastion host which is mandatory because the OMS and the database and private subnet to have the communication which is present in public subnet, and here we have the load balancer which is present on the private subnet. This way, the whenever user uses the console, it is going through this private load balancer, and then it connects to the EM repository and OMS. So these are some of the standard five locations for any of the deployment on the marketplace. For OMS, this will be the home location, and this will be the instance home location. So for the enterprise manager agent home, this is the default location we provide for the agent, and the database Oracle home will be in the below location. Since we have the encryption enabled, the valid file location on the database will be present in the below locations. For single node, it will be in the in this location, and for multi node, it will be in this location. And we also have diagnostics kit as part of the deployment. So these are all the locations for the OMS verify, rep verify, and agent verify utilities present as part of the deployment. So now JP will be going through a quick demo for the EM deployment on OCI Marketplace. Over to you, JP.
Thanks, Ashwini. So let me share the screen. So now we are going to see a quick demo on how to deploy a multi-node OMS on OCI OCI using Marketplace. So I am in OCI Cloud console now. I'm going to Marketplace, all applications. So I'm going to search for Enterprise Manager. So this is the image listing we have. So this on 13.5 RU3, and I am going to launch this stack on this compartment. So you can, if you want to deploy it on some other compartment, you can change the compartment here. Now I am going to deploy it on the default compartment. Then I will launch stack. So all the provisioning steps will be preloaded here. So you need to name the deployment. So you can give a description, short description, and so you can leave this version and all default and give next. So here I am going to choose a multi-node deployment. So the simple will be the single node deployment, which as Ashwini said, OMS and OMR will be co-located on the same host. And now we are going to see a medium deployment with 2 OMS nodes. And so there are 2 options to choose, like simple inputs and advanced deployment. And advanced deployment let you name some of the DNS and all. So we'll go through the advanced deployment. So number of nodes will be by default 2, and so I have the option to choose the compartment. And as Ashwini said, there are 2 options, like you can use existing VCN or create a new VCN. So in this case, I am going to create a new VCN, and so you can So the VCN name will be populated, and in case if you want to rename the VCN name, so you can rename it. And CIDR, so this CIDR will be the overall CIDR for this VCN. And you can, if you know this networking part, then you can give your available VCN CADRs on your network. And in case if it is open for any network, then you can choose the example on itself. And this is the DNS label which can be used to access the machines via DNS. So you can, so these DNS labels and are enabled only during this advanced deployment. If you uncheck this under advanced deployment, you can't, this and all will be the default ones. So you can't rename them. So you can deploy EMDB and load balancer on different compartments. So for that, you will be having the option to choose the uh, subnet compartment and subnet name. So you can choose a different subnet name, and this is the subnet CIDR for OMS and DB nodes. So so we need to, this is the overall VCN CIDR, and this is the subnet CIDR. So within that CIDR range, we need to give a specific subnet range for EM, enterprise manager, and database. So I am giving 1.0/24. So this will be having 255 IP address within this range. And DNS label, so you can either you can change or you can leave as it is. And so until this, the OMS DB configuration we give, and after this the load balancer part. So you can choose the compartment to place the load balancer, and the load balancer subnet name you can leave as it is, or you can give a new name for the subnet. And this CADR is the load balancer CADR. So 10.0, I am giving 10.0.2.0/24. So this will, so load balancer will be created on the subnet, and you can give DNS label for this load balancer, and you can choose the compartment where to place the load balancer. And load balancer name also you can change as per your requirement. And visibility type, so as Ashwini said, for multi-OMS deployment, we have the option to uh, deploy the load balancer either in public or private subnet. So if you give public, then load balancer, there will be a single public IP address given for load balancer, and you can access the EM uh, through that load balancer. And if you select private, then everything will be on the private subnet. Only the bastion host will be exposed to public, and through that bastion you will be able to log into that machine. And you can, if you want access from public internet, you can port forward the load balancer IP. And this is the maximum bandwidth. So you can choose what are the bandwidth available on your quota. And so in this 100 GB 100 Mbps is sufficient for REM deployment. And the second part will be the management server detail. So where to place the management OMS nodes and node prefix. This will be the OMS 1 and 2 host name prefix, and this will be the password for OMS 1 OMS nodes. and the agent registration password, so that is for used for agent deployment. So it will do a minimal check for the passwords, whether that will be complaints password or not. So if it is not complaint, then it will given the error like it is not compliant to this password policy, so that you can give a strong or you can change the password. So here you will be able to choose the save for the OMS nodes. So from the chart, you can choose the supported shapes. And please note that as of now, we are not supported. We are supported only for Intel-based shapes, and AMD Flux shapes are not yet supported now. So it is in pipeline. Will be bringing that future shortly. And boot volume size. So for better performance, you can leave the default ones. And if your deployment size will be bigger, then you can choose different higher boot volume size. And block volume size, this will be an attached block volume for especially for the EM installation. And block volume elastic performance, so this is balanced. So if you want high performance block volume, then you can choose that. And the shared storage compartment, so the shared is NFS location for software library. So you can place that NFS in a different compartment also. And name you can change or you can leave it as it is. And you can choose the availability domain for primary OMS node. So these are advanced one. You can if you choose normal one, you can you will be able to leave the default ones. And SSH public key, this is the public key you need to uh, access the bastion host from your machine. So this is the one which will be used as the uh, SSH key for all the hosts. And so this concludes the OMS nodes configuration. And the next will be the repository database detail. So this will be a DB system created as a separate DB system. So this one Oracle database, and there will be a connection data. So it will create that system. So database compartment, you can choose the either default compartment or different compartment. And name you can choose the database administrator password. And the requirement for this password will be mentioned here. Either you can choose that or you can choose this stronger password. And this is the DBSNMP password, which will be this password will be used to discover the target on Enterprise Manager. And database host name prefix. So this will be the host name prefix that will be displayed on the node section and the database systems. And database name, so by default it will be mrep, and you can change if you want. And this is the licensing system. So either you can choose being your own license or license included. So if your company is provisioned with the database license, you can choose bring your own license, but this will be deployed with the enterprise manager extreme performance, and that will be available only on this cloud. So you may need to pay for extra for that extreme edition cost. And this is the database shape uh, for database system. So you can choose the available shape as per your quota availability. So I'm choosing 2.2, and you can choose AD in case if you want to place it in a particular AD and cluster name. So this is the required for RAC database. So you can either leave it default, or you can change the name. And storage required for this RAC database. And as we said earlier, you can enable data guard for the high availability. So if you click this, then it will ask you for the data guard details. So I am going to go through this, and I'm not going to provision the data guard because it will again cost same replica of the RAC database again to node RAC database replica, and that will be billable on the OCI. So again, you can choose AD. You can choose a different AD than from the database system, and you can choose the shape for data guard and host name prefix for the data guard deployment. And so the last part will be the bastion host detail. So you can choose the compartment for the bastion host and subnet name. So this CDIR will be the private CIDR for the bastion host. So 0.1 and 2, 1 I used for OMS and DB, and 2 I used for this database, the load balancer, and 3 will be used for uh, the bastion host. And DNS label, you can use DNS label on your choice, and compartment where to place the bastion host, and shape. So for this you can choose an optimal smaller size shape, because it will be like act as a XAMPP host, so there won't be any load on this host. So after giving this, you will be you can give next, and you can review all the inputs you have given. So here there will be an option either to run after clicking create, then it will automatically create the stack, or run apply, or you can create the stack first, and then you can do a plan first, and then do apply. So I am going to plan it. So go to this after this tag comes in, then you can select plan, and plan will take less time only. It will take around within 1 or 2 minutes. So plan will give you an summary, like how many resources will be utilized for this deployment, so that uh, you will be aware of like how many resources you need to spend for this deployment. Yeah, so plan is done. You can see the logs here. Yeah, so all this it will go through like a dry run, and at the end it will say how many resources it will be creating for you for this deployment. So yeah, plan. So it will create 117 resources to add and nothing to change, and 0 to destroy. So then I can go review this plan and go ahead and apply the stack. So I again go to stack detail and do apply. So, so once I give the apply, then it will start uh, the actual deployment process, and this will be the status will be showing on this log spot. So this, since this is a multi-node deployment, it will take around 3 hours to complete the deployment process. First, it will provision the best-in host, and then it will create the EM and DB nodes and do the required configuration. So for this demo, I already created a deployment uh, and it is up and running. So if you do this deployment and it is succeeded, so after the deployment, you will be provided with the details on the enterprise manager URL, OMS host IPs, best in host IP, database connection string, resource assets, and I didn't provide any data guard system. So this detail will be provided on the application information tab, and you can even select this job description, and you can see the same information on the logs part also. So it will load the log, and at the end of the deployment, it will show uh, the all the resource details. Yeah, this is the end of this file. Here it will give you a summary of the bastion host, compute IDs, console URL, whatever the details you see on this application information, it will also shown in this here. So, so until this, the deployment is done. So let's log into the enterprise manager and see what are the final uh, deployment. We got it on this as a part of this deployment. So this is a brand new enterprise manager. So nothing will be touched on this side. So I can go ahead and accept the certificate. Yeah, now I can go to targets. So this is software version 13.5 RU3 update 3, and if you go to targets, it will discover the database targets for you, pluggable database, everything as the part of deployment. So there is no need to discover the databases. I mean the repository databases and all. So that will be a RAC database. So yeah, this if you go to the databases, this will be a RAC DB, and all the applicable databases will be discovered as part of this deployment. And so we have the diagnostic kit also. Let me show that also for you. And so I hope I can go to target all targets and show the agents pushed from the database nodes. Yeah, so OMS 1, OMS 2 will be the default one, and the deployment flow will push agent to EMDB host 1 and 2 as the part of discovery of the management repository. Now we will be logging to the OMS nodes through Bastion and see the EM Direct console. So on the from the output, I can choose the uh, Bastion host. So sometimes I can directly connect to the Bastion host, OCI Bastion host if I am in VPN. So I use a jump host for that. So I need to log in with uh, OPC user to the Bastion host. So this is the Bastion host. And from this Bastion host, I will be able to log into the OMS host. So OMS host will be 10.0.10.102 and 120. So let me log into OMS 1. So all the required keys will be added from the Bastion to OMS node. So you will be login. You can log in from the Bastion to OMS and the database nodes without any special configuration or extra configuration required. So this is OMS node 2 and I am logging to OMS node 1. Yeah, OMS 1. So I can do sudo su-oracle. Yeah, so here also you will be displayed with all the required, all the information of the deployment. So this is the middleware home location and agent home location. This is the OMS verify EM diagnostic kit command, and this is the repository verify, and this is the agent verify command. So this is the diagnostic tool which is available as a part of the enterprise manager on. So this will be very helpful in troubleshooting and tuning your enterprise data management enterprise manager deployment. And this is the DBAS URL. So you can manage this database nodes with this URL. So the DB system. And this is the connection string for your repository. And so in order to stop and restart the enterprise manager, so you will be having the scripts here. So start agent, start all. So this will start the database and OMSs, and start OMS only, and start agent, and stop all, and stop the OMS. So these are the some of the pre-created steps which you can use in case of you, if you want to stop or start the OMS, or if you want to do any maintenance test on the environment. Yeah, this is the DB system, EMOMR, and this is a database bare metal VMware Extra data system. So with database EM repository database with the two nodes, EMDB host 1 and host 2, and the floating IP address. So this won't have any public IP address. This is the floating IP address, and this is the private IP address for this host. So that's all from the demo point of view. Over to Ashwini for the closure part. Thank you all.
Thanks, JP, for the demo. So you can also find more information about the documents for the setting up of EM in the and the OCI, and also how we can use the EM app in the marketplace in the below links. So with this, we will be concluding the session. Thank you, APAC database session team to for this opportunity, and we had a lot of learnings from the Oracle community as well. Thank you. So with this, we are open for Q&A.